Hello? Anybody hear me on this? Yeah, well, looks like this piece of crap still works, though it tends to quit right when you need it the most. You outsiders might not know me. I'm the sheriff of Diani Police Station. You can call me Old Peter. Well, the bad news is you're the only folks still stranded out there in the cold. Now, the good news is the last rescue helicopter will come in approximately 20 minutes or so. Well, maybe that news ain't so good, but now for the worst news. The Wrath of Ymir ain't gonna sit and wait till you're safely back in your mama's arms before she raises hell. I'm sorry, folks. You're all on your own. I've been the sheriff of Mount Diani for about 30 years now, and this is the worst cold wave I've ever seen. No human could survive this. We've evacuated most everybody, but some tourists are still stranded. I tried to stay and help them, but they're scattered all over the map. It's impossible to find them all. There's only one rescue flight left. No way can it save everybody. God knows what'll happen to the ones left behind. I just got news that the last rescue helicopter will arrive in about 20 minutes, but it won't stay long. It's already loaded with supplies and medkits, so it's only got but a few seats left. I'd bet it can take 4 more people if we're lucky. How you all decide which 4, well, that's up to you. This reminds me of the old man in the sea. You and your opponent are fighting against all of nature, and your opponent is your only partner. A man can be destroyed, but not defeated, ain't that right? You know, there's a poem that goes like this. And in his bleak disillusion, there's only one thing in which he still takes pride, that even in failure, he shows the world his same indomitable courage. This is for you, outsiders. You outsiders are waiting for the last rescue helicopter, right? As far as I know, you might need to wait another 20 minutes or so before it arrives. Look at that darn weather outside. I don't think you have that much time. Oh, I'm the sheriff, not the mayor. The mayor left here a long time ago. He always said this place was too damn cold. Ever since he got transferred here 3 years ago, he wouldn't shut up about leaving once his term was up. You can call me Old Peter. I'm in charge of evacuating the residents and outsiders like you. But this weather's getting worse by the second. Hell, even I had to get inside, and I love the cold. Lord, I've never seen Ymir so fierce, not in all my years. You're all gonna need to rely on yourselves. The station received a batch of USP-45s a few years back, and I finally got to replace my Glock 17. I ain't saying there's anything wrong with the Glock, just that, personally, the 9mm parabellum rounds never quite cut it for me. Believe me, when you got a bear coming straight for you, you'll wish you were packing something more than a 9mm. Speaking of bears, as the sheriff, it's my responsibility to tell you that you should stay away from them if you don't have any hunting experience, no matter what heat you're packing. Now, back to the USP. It has 9mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 45 ACP models to choose from. Other than the 50 AE, which is the granddaddy of pistol cartridges, I think everyone agrees that nothing much beats the 45 ACP. Considering the stopping power you get from the 45 ACP, I personally believe the recoil is totally acceptable. The USP-45 can quickly deprive your enemy of the ability to fight, but of course it takes a heck of a lot of practice. 9mm pistols also have their strengths. For example, this Glock 17 in my hands can fire 17 rounds in a matter of seconds. It's steady, so even ordinary folks can handle the recoil. Well, at least that's what I think. If you can't handle the recoil of the Glock 17, well, there ain't much hope for you. Speaking of recoil, I've also got a 50 caliber Desert Eagle right here. I know a lot of you folks like this gun, but would never go buy one for your own use. Hell, even I'd find it difficult to handle a 4.5-pound handgun, not to mention its fearsome recoil. If you ever have a rookie aiming a Desert Eagle at you from more than 10 yards, don't try to move out of the way. You might get hit. But for a 50 caliber pistol, you can't complain about the power and range of the Desert Eagle. Can you imagine a handgun with more power than an assault rifle and a range of more than 100 yards? Of course, if you want to hit your target, you'll need to be well trained and highly skilled. You'll also need some serious upper body strength. And a little luck. If you're looking to put a lot of holes in the enemy as quickly as possible, the Glock 17's your best bet. It's got a high rate of fire, is extremely steady, and its recoil is easy to handle. The standard magazine can hold 17 9mm parabellum rounds, and the extended magazine can hold 23. That ain't half bad for a handgun. The USP 45's my favorite. I'm sure you all know how passionate I am about the 45 ACP cartridge. This gun's the most well-balanced of the three in terms of power, speed, and stability. The standard magazine has a capacity of 12 rounds, and the extended magazine holds 20 rounds. This may not be as much as the Glock, but it's pretty good considering the power of the 45 ACP rounds. As for the Desert Eagle, this gun is truly unique. The extreme stopping power of the 50 AE cartridge, combined with the effective range of the Desert Eagle, way beyond that of a normal pistol, makes it possible for you to take out the enemy from a great distance, as long as you've got the skill. I know a lot of countries' militaries and police forces don't use submachine guns anymore, just like you outsiders. So many of you like using light assault rifles like the M4A1 or the Groza and listening to the pattering sound as it fires. You completely ignore the MP5 and the Vector. But the submachine gun has its advantages. From my personal experience, the MP5's a real beauty. It's so easy to control. You'll hardly feel the recoil, and even if it's your first time shooting an automatic weapon, you won't end up spraying all your bullets into the sky. If you get some training, you can even group your shots in a hole at 20 yards. The MPXSD is superior to the MP5 in many ways. It has a slightly shorter effective range of just under 330 yards, but better stability and rate of fire. The MPXSD is also a silenced submachine gun, making it difficult for the enemy to tell which direction they're being attacked from. This is a great advantage on the field. As for the Vector, it has an incredible rate of fire and minimal recoil. What more could you ask for? Let's play a little guessing game. I have a gun which uses ammunition that can be dug out of a Ukrainian farmer's field and used to hit another farm 2 villages over. When you shoot, its recoil will relocate your shoulder that was dislocated by your previous shot. When you run out of ammo, it becomes an excellent baton, spear, paddle, tent pillar, or firewood. And finally, the last time it was manufactured was possibly in Berlin in 1945. Can you guess what I'm talking about? The Kar 98K? Young folks nowadays think that all long, narrow, old-fashioned rifles are Kar 98Ks because all those video games they play. Well, you couldn't be more wrong. I'm talking about the Mosin Nagant rifle. It's 100 years old now, even older than my grandpappy when he kicked the bucket. Have you ever seen Enemy at the Gates? I love that movie. The main guy, Vasily, uses a Mosin Nagant M1891-30 sniper rifle with a PU 3.5X scope. Pretty cool, huh? I used to go hunting with the Mosin Nagant all the time. Other than being a little heavy, it's good in all other aspects. The 7.62mm rounds are also real easy to get. Its effective range is about 550 yards, and the farthest kill record is more than 1,600 yards. Basically, if you can see it, you can kill it. The overall specs of the Mosin Nagant are definitely worse than the sniper rifles developed after World War II, such as the R700. But this gun is a legend in itself. It's been used by more historic figures than you can count. Remember that, and don't just think of it as a Kar 98K. Speaking of the R700, there's also an R700 PSS 5.56mm caliber in the station. Do you know that the R700 has many models? The R700 PSS is a great law enforcement rifle. I've used to take it to the shooting range all the time, and its power, precision, and effective range are all better than the Mosin Nagant. Technology sure is improving. A few years ago, an outsider brought an M200 here for a test. God knows why he chose this place, but I finally got to see the sniper rifle rumored to have the longest range in the world. Not many folks get a chance like that. That thing is a monster in my opinion. It easily destroyed anything that moved within 2,000 yards, and once you add a suppressor, it's even scarier. I heard that the Russians made a large caliber silent sniper rifle called the VKS some years back. It fires 50 caliber rounds. They say it's got great penetration power and is completely silent, but the effective range only seems to be about 650 yards. Okay, it's time to oil my Mosin Nagant. Damn this weather. I tested a bunch of assault rifles on the shooting range a little while back. I'm sure you all know there's not much to do in this place, so I was just passing the time. Maybe my experience will be helpful to you outsiders. I took the M4A1, AK-47, LVOAC, Groza, FAMAS, and AUG. Hauling all those guns and ammo to the range took me a good while. You should all thank me. First, let's talk about stopping power. I know that's what you're all most concerned about. The power of these 6 guns can be divided into 3 categories. Without a doubt, the most powerful are the AK-47 and Groza, which use 7.62mm rounds. The M4A1 and AUG rank in the middle, and the LVOAC and FAMAS have the lowest damage. The last 4 guns all fire 5.56mm rounds, so these results are hardly surprising. Next up is rate of fire. I wasted a ton of ammo to test this. The FAMAS had the fastest rate of fire, which I think was almost as fast as the Vector. But that thing's harder to control than the Vector, like trying to break a wild stallion. I ended up spraying bullets into the sky. Not a proud moment. Maybe only the Terminator can tame it. The rate of fire of the AUG and Groza take joint second place. I think the AUG might be slightly faster. I'm sure you know we don't have much in the way of advanced instruments or measuring devices around here. Although they have similar rates of fire, the AUG feels easier to control than the Groza and has super low recoil. You almost feel like you're sweeping the target area with a submachine gun. But the Groza has more power, and I know that's what some folks prefer. Folks like me. The M4A1 and LVOAC come 4th and 5th for rate of fire. The LVOAC has an extremely low recoil and feels almost the same as the AUG. In short, it's easy to control. But that is to be expected given the lower rate of fire, ain't that right? As for the M4A1, well, who doesn't like the M4A1? Finally, the gun with the lowest rate of fire is the famous AK-47. It's also the most difficult to control, but considering its age, that's only natural. You can't talk about shotguns without mentioning the R870. This gun is an old pal of mine. My pop taught me how to use it when I was just a kid. Remember the part where Sarah Connor uses an R870 in Terminator 2? It's one of my favorite movie scenes. Now, basically, the R870 is my favorite pump-action shotgun. The one I have here is a basic version that fires 12-gauge shells and has a capacity of 5 rounds. And trust me, with this bad boy in your hands, ain't no one gonna mess with you, unless they want to end up a human-shaped sieve. I occasionally take my R870 with me when I go hunting. Of course, I only use it to shoot birds and whatnot. If you really want to shoot a deer with it, firstly, you won't get a pelt that's intact, and secondly, you'll need enough patience to pry all those lead pellets out, one by one. Since we're on the topic of shooting birds, I have another gun which is perfect for the job, the Chitauri. This over and under double-barreled shotgun is one of my most prized possessions. It can fire 2 12-gauge rounds at the same time. I really feel sorry for those birds. Of course, if you ever find yourself in close quarters with the enemy, it'll send them to the pearly gates in no time. I almost forgot. Both the R870 and Chitauri can be equipped with a choke to reduce the spread of the shot. This makes these 2 guns even more dangerous at close range. If they would have originally turned a person into a sieve, well, now they'll punch a massive hole right through them. Pretty scary thought, huh? Well, now that I've talked about 2 old-fashioned shotguns, let's take a look at this semi-automatic shotgun I have here. Yep, you heard me right, a semi-automatic shotgun. It's the Origin 12. This gun has a fast rate of fire with easy-to-handle recoil. When you shoot it, you get to see 4 or 5 12-gauge shells dance through the air. Sounds pretty, don't you think? The Origin 12 Standard magazine holds 5 12-gauge cartridges. The extended magazine has a capacity of 10 rounds. Imagine firing 10 12-gauge rounds in a matter of seconds. Everything standing in your way will be turned to Swiss cheese. The Origin 12 can also be fitted with a muzzle brake to reduce muzzle rise when shooting. I love using this thing at close range. It feels so exhilarating. This sure is some weather, huh? I don't know if you outsiders are lucky or unlucky. The Ymir cold wave comes down the mountain once every few years, but she's especially fierce this year. Papers are calling it a once-in-a-century thing. Seems you've managed to hit the jackpot. Y'all remember to buy lottery tickets, if you survive. Now, getting on that rescue helicopter is your only chance to survive. I've seen quite a few desperate folks try to walk their way out of this one, and they all ended up dead. Ever since outsiders like you started coming here, more and more you are freezing to death, even in fine weather. Mount Diani should be respected, and if you can't respect her, you damn well better fear her. We locals never thought to conquer or challenge her. Maybe it's 'cause I don't know how to ski. Who knows? Maybe I'll give it a shot if I come out of this alive. The outsiders are fighting for their lives against the wrath of Ymir while old Peter eats canned food in the warm and quiet. In times like these, even canned food's a delicacy. Now, I don't want to be heartless. It's a real shame this shelter only has room for one person. Fortunately, there's a radar screen in the shelter, and no one knows this area like old Peter, so I'm going to be kind and give you some survival tips. For example, if there's a raging snowstorm, don't stay in one place for too long. People who try that clearly got no idea how cold the mountain can get or just how cruel old Ymir can be. You'll end up a popsicle, no matter how thick your clothes are. So, unless you're a polar bear or an emperor penguin, keep a-movin'. Not many folks believe it, but we've got a pretty decent college in this place. You've probably seen it on those colleges with the most beautiful scenery lists they come up with. It's a worthy contender, I'd say. Faces the snowy mountains with an icy lake behind it. Sounds great, huh? Although, most of the students are locals who are tired of the same old scenery and don't appreciate it much. Not many outsiders come here to study. It's kind of like how we get so many tourists, but hardly anyone ever comes here to settle down. The most interesting thing is that tourists often ask me, what does your college teach? Hunting, ice fishing, or mining, logging, skiing? What do you think my answer is, I always say, well, hell, you can learn that for free. Just go for a walk and get lost, and you'll figure it all out. If you don't, you won't care anyway, and the wolves get a nice snack. Do you know how many cold waves I've experienced? More than you can count, friend. But the cold waves caused by Ymir? Whoo-wee! This old girl strikes around once every 5 or 6 years, but I'll tell you, the last time we had cold this bad was more than 30 years ago. I wasn't the sheriff back then, just some stupid kid who helped my pop carry the animals he harvested on a hunt. The cold that year took a lot of lives. But that ain't the saddest thing. If you can believe it, someone took advantage of the storm to kill off their neighbor, then tried to blame it on the weather. Now, I'll buy that the wind might just knock a tree down onto the head of some unfortunate soul, but I ain't dumb enough to think that a tree can fire a gun. Yep. There was a bullet in the poor guy's chest, and it was fired from the hunting rifle in his own frozen hands. But now, see, I know the difference between a bullet fired into a chest at close range and one fired from a distance. Well, long story short, I caught the murderer. And that unfortunate victim, well, he was my pop. That was probably when I started wanting to be the sheriff. I heard that the name Sideral-Odoisia ski resort came from King Louis XIV of France, the famous Sun King. Of course, he didn't build the resort, but the name of this mountain, Diani, ain't just the name of some Greek goddess. It's also one of Saturn's moons. Back then, Tethys, Diani, and Rhea were called Sideral-Odoisia. Now, why do I know this? Because when the ski resort was being built, the investor kept rambling on about this stuff every day. Lord, I only went up there for routine inspections, but I had to listen to him go on and on. But it's a good thing to have passion. If it wasn't for the ski resort, this place would still be some small mountain backwater that nobody cares about. A place where every day is the same. Even though I ain't too fond of you outsiders bringing chaos along with your money, that sometimes makes me feel all warm and fuzzy to see how much you enjoy the place. Hey, outsiders, if you see a snowmobile, you've gotta give it a try. Some kids brought them here for some kind of race. I've never tried those things until somebody convinced me to take one out for a spin. My Lord, I love that thing. Well, if I was 20 years younger, I'd definitely be in that competition. But the race won't be happening now. You know, Ymir's here, and those kids ain't like you guys. They're a bit more normal, so they left their snowmobiles and ran. I wonder if those things can be salvaged. If you're lucky enough to grab one, it is a sweet ride. I gotta say, the radar equipment in this shelter is way too old. Luckily, I'm just as old, so I still know how to use it. If a younger sheriff were here instead of me, well, he wouldn't be much use at all. But the most important thing is, I've walked every inch of Mount Diani. Radar and map may be clear as mud, but I still know where everything is. I mean, I've been sheriff here for 30 years, and this ain't a big town. I've patrolled these streets and the wilderness around it too many times to count. So where younger guys would just stare at this screen and continue to be clueless, I can use it to observe. To help you. Strictly speaking, I'm not really in a shelter. It's more of a small basement room, smack dab in the middle of nowhere. It's real small. Right now I'm in front of the radar screen, and there's a shelf full of guns and cans just behind my chair. I have to crawl out just to use the bathroom. Oh, and don't even mention sleeping. I usually just lie on the table and take a nap. And when I need a bit of exercise, I jump on the table and twist my creaky old bones around. It's a funny sight, I tell you. You know, at times I wonder if this cold wave goes on for much longer, will the rescue teams have to dig my frozen body out from under a pile of empty cans? And if that happens, will the preservatives in the cans work on me too? You know what the best thing about Mount Diani is? Nope, it ain't the natural ski slopes. Yeah, I know there's something special, but I don't know how to ski. The most I've done is ride a dog sled in my younger days. No, the best thing about Mount Diani is that you never know what's waiting for you in the woods. It might actually be the worst thing for you right now, since there's a bunch of folks fighting for their lives out there who don't give a lick about you, but, well, that ain't the point. You must have seen the moose sculpture up on the mountain. It was a gift from some fancy artist. They say he saw a white moose in Moose Woods when he came here. Now, in all my years hunting, I've only seen one white moose, and I was so surprised I forgot to pull the trigger. Mysterious animals like that sure are beautiful, don't you think? Now, my rational side tells me that the whole symbol of purity thing is just something we humans came up with, but when I saw it with my own two eyes, I just couldn't bring myself to hurt that animal. The first time I heard of the Ymir cold wave, I thought it was named after the meteorologist who discovered it. Like, you know how those scientists always like to name their weird discoveries after themselves. Then some outsider told me it's the name of the ancestor of them frost giants in Norse mythology. Norse mythology. Our mountain's named after a Greek goddess, but the cold wave is a Viking. Them scientists sure are something. I think that outsider was maybe something of a scientist. After coming here, he went to all sorts of places no one would ever go. Wrote all sorts of things in this little book of his. We didn't get many visitors from out of town back then, so I sent Carl, my deputy, to accompany him and make sure he didn't fall or freeze to death. But tragedy still struck. Carl left after that. I wonder where he is now and how he's doing. These last 10 years have gone by in the blink of an eye. It's why you outsiders should always fear and respect the mountain. I ain't saying that scientist didn't respect the mountain, but tragedy lurks around every corner in a harsh environment like this. Human life is More fragile than you think. Ain't that right? My son forwarded me an email a few days back. He lives more than 1,000 miles south of here, so at least he's safe from Ymir's fury. It was some stupid fancy words about a scenic spot in the north. Something like, "Open the window to reveal a spectacular snow-capped mountain before your eyes, a soul-cleansing holy land at your fingertips." I gotta say, whoever wrote that can't have spent much longer than a week or so at the foot of a snowy mountain. Are snowy mountains beautiful? Well, they're pretty enough, I suppose. But if you see it every day, even the most majestic scenery's just gotta be like a shack on the side of the road. Pretty soon you just stop noticing it. Of course, when you get sick of where you live, you can go on vacation to someplace where those people are sick of where they live. Like my son down south. He wanted to get away from the cold, but he's always griping about how he's too hot and the sea breeze makes him feel all sticky. Sounds pretty good right now, I tell you. Maybe I need to spend a month or two down there. See if my soul feels cleansed. Hang on a sec. Old Peter needs to have a smoke now. I know it's a bad habit, but I haven't been able to quit in over 30 years. I'll put on some music in case you get bored. Of course, I'm choosing a song I like. Sorry, but you don't get to choose. Oh, Lord, this canned food doesn't keep me full for long. I need to find some more food. I like to listen to music while I eat. How about you? But hey, this one ain't bad at all. Perfect for meal times. Is anyone out there driving? I just came across one of the records I loved to listen to while driving back in my younger days. It's great for driving in a snowstorm, but, well, don't take my word for it. Here, give it a try. After all this talking, I think I need to drink some water and take a break. I'll play some music so no one thinks I've gone off air. Everybody just relax. Even if you can't get yourself onto the chopper, you still get to listen to old Peter's record collection. Looking at you kids makes me remember how shocked my young deputies were when they overheard my playlist. Kids these days. Those songs were all real popular when I was a young buck. My doc tells me listening to music can alleviate anxiety. But when I showed him my playlist, he went silent. Is that bad? Well, give it a listen. Though, it ain't like you can tell me if you think it sucks. I think I heard a noise coming from the roof. I'm going to investigate. Hey, do you like listening to music while you work? This is a great song to listen to while repairing a roof. Yep, I'm lighting a cigarette. Wonder if you guys are in the mood for a smoke break, huh? I guess not. Well then, let's listen to a song. Maybe it'll cheer you up a little and make you forget your troubles. Lake Herschel gets frozen once a year during the cold wave, and this year's no exception. But just like they're saying on the news, this cold wave's a once-in-a-century phenomenon. I advise everyone not to risk driving or walking on it. Things will not end well. The radar's telling me that Lake Herschel is frozen. Yep. In years past, I would have taken my fishing pole and auger up that way for a spot of ice fishing. But there's no way I'm taking that risk now. I advise you not to either. This cold wave is no joke, friend. It's time for old Peter's important announcement. Lake Herschel is completely frozen. A frozen lake? Sounds like a breathtaking sight, right? Well, it is. The cold will literally suck the breath right out of you. Leave there now. The faster, the better. I just got word the rescue helicopter will arrive soon. Escape is within your grasp. Are you feeling excited? Outsiders? Hello? Old Peter's got good news for you. The rescue helicopter's almost arrived. Anyone still alive should head there immediately. This is your last chance to survive. Oh, it looks like the rescue helicopter's almost arrived. What are you waiting for? Good luck. Congratulations to you lucky folks on escaping this mess. Going through this, I'm sure you'll be able to stand tall and face whatever fate throws at you in the future. Am I right? But I have a feeling we'll meet again someday. Farewell, my friends. Congratulations to you lucky folks for escaping this icy mess. Now I'm sure you'll be able to stand tall and face whatever fate throws at you in the future. But I have a feeling we'll meet again someday. Farewell for now, my friends. According to the radar, hang on a sec. The radar shows the place with the most people right now. Want to hear about the most crowded area? Oh, Lord, more than 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, Sidera Lodoisia Ski Resort, and Vari Mine, Fort Tirefing, Balmung City, Snow Lake Town, Valley Town, Moosewood Sawmill, Lake Herschel, Seagull Castle, Herschel Academy, Graveyard, Scotty City, Whitestone Town, Ring Mountain City, Ice Tongue Village, Alvitter Castle, Diani Police Station, Blue Peak Town, Wagner City. Old Peter has an important announcement. An avalanche is taking place near Balmung City. If you haven't lost your mind yet, you'll want to get out of there ASAP. You know, it don't seem like a bright idea to put a bunch of buildings at the foot of a snowy mountain, like Balmung City, where a big old avalanche is happening as I speak. Maybe that's why my pal George put his excavating company there. I sure hope he can dig himself out, 'cause he's got plenty of business waiting. According to the radar, an avalanche is taking place right now near Balmung City. Maybe I should call up my son and tell him that the place where he had his first date with his high school sweetheart is currently being buried in snow. What a shame. According to the radar, an avalanche is taking place right now near Balmung City. Maybe I should call up my son and tell him that the place where he had his first date with his high school sweetheart is currently being buried in snow. What a shame. Well, there goes another avalanche near Ice Tongue Village. Why'd I say another? Because avalanches happen there all the time, even in normal weather. That's why we locals call it Avalanche Village. The radar is showing an avalanche near Ice Tongue Village. Hey, don't complain, it's the fastest way to get down to the bottom of the mountain. The radar is showing an avalanche near Ice Tongue Village. Hey, don't complain, it's the fastest way to get down to the bottom of the mountain. Oh, there's an avalanche near Ice Tongue Village. If you're thinking of heading that way, think again. Oh, there's an avalanche near Ice Tongue Village. If you're thinking of heading that way, think again. There's an avalanche near Whitestone Town. I repeat, there's an avalanche near Whitestone Town. Please evacuate as soon as possible. In my younger days, I used to drive around and shout stuff like that through a bullhorn. How did I do this time, The radar's showing an avalanche near Whitestone Town. I remember good old John over that way used to sell the tastiest hot dogs. Wonder if he'll still be selling hot dogs after all this. Oh no, there's an avalanche near Whitestone Town. Every time I remember that I'm the one who has to organize the rebuilding efforts after this disaster, I feel like it might be easier to just suffocate to death right here in this basement. Oh no, there's an avalanche near Whitestone Town. Every time I remember that I'm the one who has to organize the rebuilding efforts after this disaster, I feel like it might be easier to just suffocate to death right here in this basement. The cold waves don't just cause snowstorms. They cause avalanches, too. There's one happening in the eastern part of the Sidera Lodoisia Ski Resort right now. If you've always wanted to experience an avalanche, well, now's your chance. The most likely place to have an avalanche in the Sidera Lodoisia Ski Resort is in the eastern part. Well, look, there's an avalanche now. Told you. The radar's telling me there's an avalanche in the eastern part of the Sidera Lodoisia Ski Resort. Get out of there ASAP. I ain't kidding. There's an avalanche in the northern part of the Sidera Lodoisia Ski Resort. I doubt there'd be anyone crazy enough to go skiing in this weather, but if there is, get out of there ASAP. The radar's showing an avalanche. All right, let me see where it is here. Yep, in the northern part of the Sidera Lodoisia Ski Resort. Yep, I am sure that's where it is. Well, if you want to stay alive, Get out of there now. Though the radar just indicated there's an avalanche in the northern part of the Sidereal ski resort. A lot of folks said it was a ticking time bomb to build a ski resort up there. I'm actually kind of surprised it's taken such a bad cold wave to trigger the first avalanche. There's an avalanche in the western part of the Sidereal ski resort. I remember there's a forest there. The cold wave sure is something this year, don't you think? The radar's telling me there's an avalanche in the western part of the Sidereal ski resort. This may be old radar, but it's never been wrong. Now stay away from there. There's an avalanche. It seems to be in the western part of the Sidereal ski resort. A cold wave and an avalanche. When it rains, it pours.
There's an avalanche in the western part of the Sidereal ski resort. I remember there's a forest there. The cold wave sure is something this year, don't you think?